For
So it
all
says the
virtual machine.
subscription is disabled. Okay, can
Yeah.
we go back to subscription? We need to find out why the subscription is coming as disabled.
I tried to with a different.
No, that's okay. Just navigate to subscription. You see subscription there. We need to check the
Yeah.
status of subscription.
Yes.
Oh,
But
subscription is disabled. Why? It should not, because you still have. Okay.
yeah.
Can we go back to the cost? Probably that cost has reached. You have not
One.
managed it well.
If you
Just click on the subscription name. Now, this is for all of you guys. Please watch it carefully. Click on check your balance. There goes the reason why the
okay.
subscription was disabled, right?
I
102
missed.
US dollars you've spent. Now let's
Okay.
understand the usage, where exactly this 102 US dollars have gone. Click on usage. To your left, you see an option, extreme left. Yeah. Select the subscription. Yeah, the first row. Now it will populate the usage matrices. See, okay, go up, go up, go up. I know why this has gone like this. So you provisioned a virtual machine with P30 LRS disk. Do you know what is
No.
P30? It's 1 TB.
Yeah, but when I checked it, I clearly clicked on standard disk. I don't know how it's
No,
happened.
but it clearly says P30 LRS. P30 is premium disk and it is of 1 TB. So it
Okay.
seems that I'm saying, see, I'm just assuming that probably you were trying to learn add disk part to a VM and so what happens? See, understand it. You all have observed it by now. See, Microsoft is a company that wants to maximize profit. When
Okay.
you provision a resource, Microsoft will always give you the higher option. And that
Okay.
is what happens when when you provision a VM, when you navigate to the disk tab, by
Okay.
default, premium SSD comes. Then you
Okay.
need to click on the drop down and select the standard SSD, right?
I selected standard SSD. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But it seems that that standard SSD was not taken, Srinath, and
Okay.
you got charged for this premium disk, and that constitutes 33% of the cost, $35, right?
Okay.
Then the
Okay.
remaining is $26, which is absolutely fine, which is reasonable because you've
Okay.
been running virtual machines for the last 15
Yes.
days, three, four
Yes.
virtual
Yes.
machines,
Yes.
right? Rest of them
Yeah.
are also okay because rest of them are standard SSD disk. You
Yeah.
can see,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
After that, you have B2MS, which is another virtual machine. So this cost, so premium storage has taken $35, which constitutes around 33% of the cost. That's why your $100 balance is
Okay.
exhausted. Now,
Okay.
if you want to continue, you will need to upgrade this to a paid one, which I
Okay.
will leave it to your discretion whether you want to continue with it or not.
Okay.
Yep. I hope you understand, Srinath, the
Yeah.
limitation
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So please be careful in future while you work
Okay.
with Microsoft Azure. Now I'll give you a suggestion. You already have a new email address, an Outlook email address.
Yes.
Now
Yes.
with this email address, so this is for all the participants. The day the day 30 days period is over,
Okay.
or your $100 credit is exhausted before 30 days period,
Okay.
that day you go ahead and take a trial from Microsoft Azure. Microsoft will give you a trial on this new Outlook email address that you created on day one. Because it's a new email address, on this email address, there has not been any trial provided in the past. So you can
Okay.
take a trial that gives you another 30 days and
Okay.
200 US dollar worth of
Okay.
credit. That will come with certain limitations in
Okay.
terms of you will not be able to provision more than a specific number of instances.
Mm.
But that is okay. At least you will have a playground to continue with your learning journey. That's
Yeah.
more important,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Sure. 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 Sure.
Yeah, please do that. Because I would also not suggest you to continue, I'm say, converting this into a paid account. Why? Because if
Okay.
you do this, with this account, your Microsoft 365 trial is also connected. And you know that
Okay.
this trial is costing you around $9 per user per month, and you've got at least 10 users. So the
Okay.
moment you continue with it, the moment you upgrade your subscription to a paid one, and then same you do with this trial, you will
Okay.
end up paying around 100 or more than $100 to Microsoft by the end of this month, which I don't want to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now can I use any other email ID or how it is? For
I'm
Android?
saying this you so what basically happens, your M365 subscription is still active because
Okay.
we enabled it probably on 5th or 6th of
Yeah.
June, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So your M365 is up and running, but your
Okay.
Azure subscription is not, which
Okay.
means your endpoints are not available,
Okay.
but your security service is available. That's how it
Okay.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm saying I would rather suggest you to take a free trial on another email address
Okay.
and then create some virtual machines there and onboard them into onboard them into Microsoft Defender so that
Uh,
you will continue to practice.
okay. Okay.
Okay,
Sure. Sure. Sure.
great. And for today's session, please watch how we are
Okay.
doing it. The session is
Yes.
recorded,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
can follow the session recording probably in future.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. Thank
Okay, great.
you.
So once again, guys, I would request you all to quickly go and check your current balance and see if there is any service that is unnecessarily causing you a lot of billing. And if yes, then please go ahead and disable that service, delete that service, or reduce the size of that service or the SKU of that service. So similar to Srinath, if you also see a P30 disk, P10, P20 disk, which stands premium, please go ahead and identify where those disks are and, and resize them as standard. So
Raghu, actually,
yeah,
if we already allocated some disk, we already allocated. If we want to resize it, where is the option actually? I tried
okay.
it.
I'll show you where the option.
Okay.
So let me share my screen. I'll show
Okay.
you. Is my portal visible to everyone?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let me show you. So for example, any of these virtual machines which is running right now, let's say I'll pick up, just give me 1 minute. Dev, which virtual machine are you working with? Which VM? ADDS. No, ADDS is already there. It's already there now. No, no, no. Windows 22 deploy AD services there. 22 SQL. Okay. All right, guys. So I'll show you with this VM. Let's say I'll pick up any of the VM. The process will remain the same. You click on the VM name. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great. So you click on the VM name. On the VM dashboard, under settings, you see disk option. So click on the disk option. That will show you the disks which are connected to the VM. So here you can see with this VM, only one disk is connected, which is the OS disk. It is of standard HDD. So I'm already taking the lowest possible cost, and it is of 127 GB. Just imagine that it is premium. So how will you change it? You will click on the disk name. That will take you to the disk blade. This is the disk blade. Over here under settings, you see configuration option. You need to click on configuration option. Sorry, under settings, you need to click on size plus performance. And there you will see the size. So here you will see the size. It shows you the current size. I'm saying current type and size. Let's imagine that this was premium and you wanted to convert it to standard HDD or standard SSD. Then from the drop down, you can select it. So let's say it is already HDD. I'll select SSD. So when you select the size, I'm saying you can select the type and you can also change the size. You cannot shrink. Shrink basically means you cannot reduce the size from 128, you cannot make it 64. And notice, but from 128, you can make it 256. 256 is possible. The another thing that you need to remember is that you can only perform this operation when your virtual machine is shut down. You cannot perform this operation on a live virtual machine because the save button will not be available. So if I navigate to another virtual machine which is currently in stop mode, So you need, for example, these two virtual machines, Windows 10 and 2022. Let's say I click on Windows 10. And why you're not allowed to change the size and type of the disk while the VM is running? Because it may corrupt the application. It may corrupt the disk. It may corrupt the operating system. That is why you need to do a graceful shutdown of your machine. And before you shut down the machine, you will need to gracefully shut down all the applications which are running, then shut down the machine, then come to the portal. On the portal, navigate to that machine. Under settings, click on disk. Then the disk that you want to resize or you want to lower the, lower the cost of it, just click on that disk. And then it takes you to the disk blade. Click on under settings, size plus performance. And here you can change the size. So over here, you can see my current size is 127 GB. See, I can pick up these sizes also, the standard sizes, or I can also manually change it. For example, the size was 127. If I try to make it 126, it will give me an error. I don't know why this is happening. Typically, cloud doesn't, it says reducing size, reducing disk size is not supported in Azure to prevent data loss. You cannot reduce the size. You can always, okay, yep. So when you reduce the size, you can notice that my actual size is 128 GB. If I do 127 GB, if I'm reducing the size, then this, sorry, 127 is the size actually, 126. If I do 126 or any size less than that, which is 100 GB, this save button will be faded. But if I do 129, which is 1 GB extra from the current size, it will be available. So not in Azure, in any cloud, they do not allow you shrink the disk because shrinking may corrupt the data on the disk. And cloud service provider would not take a chance here. So they say that you can always increase the size, but you cannot decrease it. So if I want to increase the size, I can select the new size, which is, let's say, 256 GB, whatever size I need. I'll select the size, and here I can select the storage type also. Let's say I want to make it standard SSD. I can select standard SSD, select the size, and I can click on save. So that way I can resize my disk, which means increasing the size of the disk and changing the performance of the disk from standard to premium and vice versa. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, Raghu, thanks.
Raghu,
All
It,
right.
there's
So
the
the size
size
is changed. You
was
can see successfully updated disk. If I go back to the disk properties once again, I would now see it as standard SSD instead of standard SDD. That's the difference.
Raghuveer, for me, the size shows for storage as P10 LRS disk. So not for virtual machine. So how do I change it for the storage?
No, it will not say virtual machine. P10, it will always say storage only. But the P basically signifies that it's a premium disk. So you will need to identify with which VM it is attached to. What you can do in the search, you can type disk.
Okay.
And then you will see all the disk that you have in this subscription. And in the storage type, you will see the disk type also. So wheresoever it says premium, just click on it. For example, let's say this one says premium, I will click on it and I will know with which VM it is attached to. Because when I click on it, it will show me the operating system and the managed by, and that's where I can see the VM name to which it is attached. Right? Now, all you need to do is to make sure that the VM is shut down, and then under settings, go to size plus performance, and change the tier of the disk. So what is happening, as I said, when you provision a VM, by default, Microsoft will give you premium options and you need to manually change the option. And if you miss that point, then your cost of the storage will be 10 times of what it would have been for standard. And that's exactly what has happened to Srinath, wherein he missed or he did select, but then it was not updated, probably because of synchronization. And now he ended up paying $35, because of which the total credit went beyond $100 of the acceptable credit, and his subscription is disabled. And luckily, this happened today only on the last day of the training. What if it had happened during the training, mid of the training? Then there would be a trouble. So
yeah, when I'm creating a DBVM, actually I selected it is actually network fluctuating. I don't know. I selected it standard only. I never selected premium. It might be that synchronization happen issue.
Yeah, it happens sometimes, but you can't blame Azure for it, because Azure will say that after the VM was provisioned, why did you not perform post validation? Right? So because this has happened in production a number of times, wherein I myself remember approaching Azure once, wherein by mistake we selected P50 disk, which is 4 terabyte of disk, and we remember selecting for a non-production server standard as a HDD, but it was premium SSD, and it was 4 terabyte. When we received the bill, we could see the deviation. We raised a case with Microsoft and said that this is not our fault. This is probably your system, which did not take the right input from us. And Microsoft did investigate. And in the end, they showed us log in the system and the log clearly said that when the request was submitted, these were the parameters or configurations which we received, and accordingly, we did provision the VM. So what might have happened that when we selected the standard SSD, probably the browser did not refresh. And that could be the reason Azure backend only received premium as part of the template that gets created when you click on review plus create. When it says validation passed, it creates a template, an ARM template, which is a JSON template that is basically submitted to Microsoft Azure for provisioning. So they basically showed us the template configuration file, which had clear mention of premium SSD of 4 terabyte. So we had no option but to accept, and we ended up paying that additional cost for that month. And after that, we created a policy, a doer and checker process in the organization, wherein one person will provision the service and the other person an hour later will validate whether the service was configured with the right configuration items or if it has any deviation. And why 1 hour? Because if the other person checks the very next moment, probably it is synchronization. So an hour later, you would have concrete idea, or Microsoft, in fact, would not refute or deny the fact that it was fault at their end. So that's what we did. And I'm sure you have something similar in your operations team also, wheresoever they provision resources in cloud. Any other question, guys? Did you all check the current cost? And if you found any anomaly, any service which is unnecessarily charging you money, just identify that service, search for that service in Azure portal, and see whether that service is actually needed, whether you can delete it or resize that service and pick a lower cost SKU of that service.
Raghu, actually, you said we cannot shrink, we cannot decrease, we can only increase the disk. But when we selected the premium, how can it will convert it to a lower volume of disk? How can it will take on it?
No, size we cannot reduce. Size reduction is not available, but storage type we can always change. That's not a challenge. So for example, I'm here, I can change it to standard SDD and I can save it. So they allow you to change the type, but not size.
Oh,
So HDD is even lower than SSD, is it, for in terms of cost?
Yeah, as SSD is like magnetic storage. The old traditional, I'm saying 10 years ago, you had HDD storage. Then SSD was launched, which is high performance storage. So the cost difference is there. I can show you here. I have a favorite. I'm say a a tab here that shows you the cost. So you can see the managed disk pricing. Here you will see the difference. So look at the previous premium disk cost. So premium disk of P10, which is P10 is premium, and P10 cost you $17.92. Premium disk 428 GB. Let's see the standard SSD, which is a lower, which is premium but lower premium. Now the same standard SSD of 128 GB is costing you $9. See the difference from 17 to $9. And if you go to standard SSD, this is your standard SSD. The same size in standard SSD will cost you only $5. So $5, and here you see $70, $17. That's the difference. You can see $17 and $5. So the standard SSD cost you almost 1/3 of what premium would cost you. Make sense? Did you
Yeah.
understand the difference in the cost?
Yes,
Obviously, there
yes.
will be difference in the performance. Premium runs faster. Its read-write capability is much higher than a standard disk. But as long as you're working in a non-production environment, you're dealing with lab exercises like this, what is the need of taking premium? I'm saying, what are you going to get in return at the end of the day? Nothing. So let's go with the lower cost configuration that will help you to understand the context or understand the concepts, and at the same time will help you to optimize the cost.
Raghuveer, while we are discussing this, right,
Mhm.
my dollar utilization is also around $60 now. Maybe in a
Mhm.
week's time it can deplete to 100, right?
Mhm.
So you
Yeah,
suggested that using the same Outlook email ID, we can create a second trial subscription.
yeah. This new Outlook email address,
New,
the one that you redeemed your Azure sponsorship pass on, the one that you are using currently for Microsoft Azure.
right?
On
Yeah,
that
yeah.
email address, on that Outlook email address, you qualify for an Azure trial also. Because on one email address, Microsoft gives a trial plus only once you can redeem as sponsorship pass. So next time if I give you another code, you will not be able to redeem it on this ID. Microsoft will deny, stating that you already have used this offer in the past. So
Right.
it
So
hardly costs a penny to create a new email address. I know a couple of people who have been using Azure free services for a long time, and they did not even pay to Azure once, because what they do every month, they create a new email address and they get one trial on it.
okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thanks.
So, Raghuveer, just one question. So, for example, we have used our Outlook ID this time
Mhm.
for another trial, and next time if we will create any another Outlook ID and we'll ask for the free subscription, so is
Mhm.
it will allow? So it will allow with the same payment method that we used last time.
See, the payment method is not the main thing with Microsoft, because as per the RBI guidelines, Microsoft is not storing your payment method information, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Earlier, this would have been the case wherein Microsoft would also validate through payment method. But because of the central bank guidelines, Microsoft has stopped storing payment method, which means all Microsoft knows about you is your email address. Your name could
Okay.
be same. I'm saying 20 people can have the same name. They can have the same address also. Address you any which ways don't provide. PAN card number is optional. You don't need to provide, right? So payment
Mm-hmm.
method, they don't store. So the only thing that they know, which is a primary key for them, is the email address. Entra ID can quickly check if that email address was granted any offers in the past. And on the basis of that result, Microsoft will either allow or Microsoft may deny you further offers or further trial. Right?
Okay. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Phone number you can provide any because they don't send any code. So obviously you should not provide the same phone number, but you can provide a generic number also. Microsoft will not send you the code.
Understood. Yeah.
Right? And as far as authenticator is concerned, you can deploy it on any device. Even if after 15 days, Microsoft says that let's configure the MFA, you can configure it on any device. You can even configure it on your laptop also, because you also have Microsoft Authenticator app available for Windows and Linux devices. So the only thing which is primary, I'm just going by the logic, is email addressing. And that is why I have seen my students taking subscribing to another trial after the training is over or after their existing credit is exhausted. In order to continue with the same pace of learning, they go with a trial version. So you all can give it a try. Okay, but not today when your existing subscription expires or your $100 credit get exhausted.
Got it. Yeah.
Any other participant? Any other question, guys?
So, Raghuveer, one question. So basically, Microsoft gives you any kind of coupons or anything like that, vouchers to renew this Azure subscription in the future, or just like they give it for their exams, right? So do they give you anything from the this Azure perspective to learn our hands-on labs?
Actually, there are options, but you need to check whether they are available for your ID or not. For example, what you can do. So hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, it is visible. Yes, it is visible. Hello.
Okay. So what I'll do, I'll show you where exactly you can check whether there is any offer available. So you can navigate to your subscription. And over here, you see an option that says add. On the top left corner under subscriptions, there is an option that says add. Click on add. Okay, guys, I'll just turn off my camera to save bandwidth. So when you click on add, do you see these options here? It says free trial, pay as you go, Azure for students. So you can see here, right now, I'm using this account and I'm eligible for free trial also. So once you take a free trial, then next time when you come back to the screen, this offer will not be available. Right now, you have all the three offers, which is pay as you go, wherein you agree to pay free trial, which gives you another 30 days of 30 days of access to Azure with another $200 worth of credit. Definitely, it comes with certain limitations. And then Azure for students. Now, this is another beneficial product. If you have a student ID, I know some people, they do part-time MBAs, they enroll in executive MBA programs while working, or even if you're going through any distance learning course, and if you have an ID from your college or university, you can select this offer. The best part about this offer is that you get 12 months of credit. Every month you will get anywhere from $50 to $100. It differs from institution to institution. Azure typically grants tier one institutions like IIT, NIT, to those institutions, or tier one colleges like IIM, XLRI, ISB, $100 worth of credit in India. And for tier two and tier three institutions, they give $50 worth of credit. But even $50 is good. If you're getting $50 every month, free of cost for next 12 months, you can at least leverage it for any activity. I'm saying you can host your own blog site in Azure, because Azure will give you domain, Azure will give you DNS, Azure will give you SSL, Azure will give you hosting also. So you can do that. It doesn't cost, but these offers must be available in your ID.
Okay, so
So this,
can yeah. Can you navigate it to all other offers?
Yeah, there are more
what can
offers.
be
I'm
there?
saying, but those are not available. You can see Azure
Okay.
Pass sponsorship. It will say check availability. So if I check
Mm-hmm.
availability, it may say no to me because I already have utilized that pass. So it
Right.
says you're not eligible for this offer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you already have utilized an Azure sponsorship pass on this ID. So it doesn't give
Mm-hmm.
you that offer. So I'm saying all other offers, anything that comes under all other, that sometimes means you don't have that option available. And anything that directly comes, it means that that option is available for you.
Okay.
Right? So you have other options also. For example, there is one which is Azure in Open, which is purchase Microsoft Azure services from your partner using your Microsoft Open Volume licensing program. So obviously you don't have that program, forget about it. So these are the
Okay.
offers which are. So most of them are faded, which means you are not eligible. Even if you click on it, it will say you're not in the end. That's
Right.
the
Right.
reason they are faded, right? It says you're not
Okay.
eligible for this offer. You can see. So if they are
Okay.
faded, it means you're not eligible,
Right.
right?
Understood.
So
Yes.
so I've given you this input that even after probably next couple of days when your 30 days validity period expires, or if before your $100 credit is exhausted, you have this offer available. Just go inside your subscription and click on try Azure for free. You don't need to provide any information because you have already provided all the information to Microsoft. They have your
Right.
PAN number, they have your address, they have your payment information also available. So they will
Right.
not ask you even a single question. You just click on try Azure for free and they will give it to you for free. But don't
Okay.
do it now, otherwise, because the moment you say try Azure for free, they will enable it today and then the clock will start ticking from today. So do it when you have your existing account expires or your existing credit exhausted.
Okay.
So this is
Okay.
for all the participants, guys. Please make sure that you take advantage of this opportunity. Any other question, guys? Okay. If there are no more questions, let's get started. I would like to cover a few topics today, and I've already made a note of it just to save time there because I also need you to showcase, demonstrate your week second assignment. That is very important. And based on your request, I've compiled some documentation that you shared with me on Saturday. A few are remaining, so I will probably do it within this week, and and then I will upload them all into my Google Drive and share the access with you all. So today I dropped you an email. I believe you all of you have received it except Azhar because I removed Azhar from that email because I knew that he will not be available until 3 o'clock. Azhar, are you there in the session?
Yes, I have joined. Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, happy Eid to you.
Eid Mubarak. Eid Mubarak to all.
Yeah. Okay, great. So Azhar, I actually dropped an email to all the participants informing them that we will be starting session a bit late because I was fixing the internet issue here. So on the same email address, I will just drop one email to all of you with the link of that folder so that you can all download the documents from there. And if you need anything, just drop me a note. You already have access. You already know my LinkedIn, account. So you can just drop me a note there, or you can route your request to L&D team also, whichever you find is appropriate uh, for professional communication. Okay. So let's talk about, guys, this topic. So I've made some notes here just to so that I can quickly complete this topic. So we will talk about Microsoft Defender for Identity today, the service that we have not talked about in the past, but this service is equally important. So let's talk about this service. The scope of this service may be limited. When I say limited, because it only deals with protection of identities or server role which is related to Active Directory domain service, Active Directory federation services. Or if you remember, when we go to our Windows server, when we click on add roles and feature, we see a couple of roles. So it basically protects Windows servers who have Active Directory domain services role. who have ADCS role, certificate service role, who have Active Directory Federation services role, and some additional roles that it protects. So it's more of a identity protection service. Now, what you need to understand is that your endpoint, which is a Windows server, that 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 machine is also an endpoint, and it also has an identity installed on it, right? So it's a separate service. So let's understand this service. So it says that MDI is a cloud-based security solution that helps secure your identity monitoring across your organization. So, so what you need to do on all the identity servers, let's say you have 20 domain controllers, 20 domain controllers, 5, 6 DNS servers, DSCP servers, ADFS servers, ADCS servers. On all those servers, which are responsible for managing identities in some way or other, you will need to deploy MDI sensor on them. Now, MDI has a separate sensor. It has nothing to do with the script that you used to onboard endpoints into Microsoft 365 Defender or Microsoft Defender for endpoint. So MDI has a separate sensor. It's an executable that you will download, install it on the Active Directory server, and then your Active Directory server will start to reflect under MDI dashboard. And after that, you can configure the, you can do the post deployment or post onboarding activities that I will be talking about in a nutshell. So obviously, we have limited time. I will not be able to get into the detail of everything, but I will try and cover this solution uh, by making sure to cover a touch base or touch every minute aspect of it, but at a high level, not getting into the depth of it. Okay, so it says Defender for Identity is fully integrated with XDR, which is very important statement that you need to understand.
Hello,
Right
Raghu.
now we have, yeah.
I think your
Yes,
screen is stuck on the Azure portal subscription page.
Azure portal stuck.
Yeah, it
Guys,
has.
you don't see my screen?
We just see your mouse moving, but the screen is not.
Give me a moment here.
Not sure if recording is also started.
No, recording is working fine. So which screen do you see, guys? Let me stop sharing and share once again.
We were seeing Azure portal, that subscription related screen.
Oh, okay. You were showing it because I was only showing that screen. Sorry, that was my bad.
Okay.
I was not
Okay.
sharing the entire window. Now I've shared
Okay.
the entire window.
Yes. Now we are able to see.
Great. Okay. Great. So let's move on. Okay. So let's move on. So as I said, Defender for Identity is fully integrated with Microsoft XDR, which basically means if you have Microsoft XDR license, by default, you will have access to Defender for Identity. And if you have Microsoft 365 E5 license, by default, you have access to all the security products of Microsoft. And that's what the configuration that we have. We have M365 E5 license with us. So by virtue of that license, we have Defender XDR as well as Defender for Identity available that you all can validate in your respective portal. So if you navigate to the security.microsoft.com, on the dashboard, you will see identities. And here you will see some options related to identities. So this option is available here. So we'll come to this point later on. Okay, so let's understand the theoretical aspects first. So how does it works? So it says it basically gets information. So basically what happens, you deploy a sensor. It's like a small application on all the endpoints which are hosting ADDS, ADFS, ADCS services. And then that sensor will look into the event logs, will look into the various repositories or various folders or various places inside the virtual machine and identify if there is any matching threat. And if it finds any, it will directly submit it to the cloud portal. That's what it does. So it does everything in the VM itself. It even parses the log and then send it to. So it says that you can protect your Active Directory, on-premises Active Directory, as well as cloud identities, and it will help you to identify, detect, and investigate advanced threats directed at your organization. Now deploy. So how do you, so when you deploy the solution, this is what you do basically. This is, so you are able to prevent breaches. Now, when I say breaches, for example, on your domain controller, somebody logs in and then the person is running certain script to get, so let's say I run a script netdawn FSMO role, which provides me all the FSMO role information, all the servers which contains the FSMO, flexible system master operation role, which is a critical stuff to know. Similarly, what if I run a command to get all the users information from my AD? This is another credential theft or data leakage incident. So it prevents those breaches. Or what if I create a user and assign that user enterprise admin role, which is the highest role in Azure, in Microsoft Windows Server Active Directory. So it will capture those behaviors. It will detect it will detect threats based on real-time analytics and data intelligence. It will investigate suspicious activities using clear, actionable incident information, and it also responds to attack using automatic process to compromise identities. Now, this used to have, I'm saying, a year and a half ago, Defender for Identity used to have a separate portal, and it used to be known as Azure ATP, Advanced Threat Protection. And there was a separate portal for it. And as part of its consolidation initiative, Microsoft last year, they renamed the service as Defender for Identity to make it part of Defender Suite and integrated the service into the security portal, which is security.microsoft.com, which was not the case until last year. Is everyone with me on this? Yeah. Okay. So Defender for Identity uses data from across your environment, including domain controllers, Active Directory Federation Service, Active Directory Certificate Service, to provide you with a complete view of your identity environment. Defender for Identity Sensor monitors domain controller traffic by default. Now, when you deploy the sensor on a domain controller is the virtual machine or server which is hosting Active Directory domain services. So when you deploy it on a domain controller, it will by default monitor the traffic on that domain controller, all incoming and outgoing traffic, all event logs, specific event logs, any changes to the registry entry, any changes that has a potential to break the system. It will monitor it by default. You don't need to configure anything. For example, when you deploy Microsoft Defender for endpoint, it doesn't do anything by default. You need to configure IOCs. You need to configure attack surface reduction rules. You need to configure anti-malware policies. You need to configure device compliance. You need to configure device control. All that you need to configure yourself. It doesn't do anything by default. But Defender for Identity knows its job, and the moment you install the sensor, it will start to deliver its job role and responsibilities without any additional configuration. Yes, there are additional configurations, but that does not interrupt with the normal working of the service. So that's what it does. Now, what are my licensing requirements? These are the licensing requirements. You should have any of this license. So you can see if you have Enterprise Mobility plus Security E5, or if you have Microsoft 365 E5, or if you have Microsoft 365 F5 is also there, or if you have standalone Microsoft Defender for Identity license. So you can also get a standalone license. Probably you can go to Microsoft and say, hey, you know what? I am actually not interested in any of your products because I already have existing investments into it, but I like to evaluate or I like to purchase Defender for Identity product. So Microsoft will first try to convince you to go with Defender XDR, but in the end, they will provide you license. So you can also have a Defender for Identity standalone license, which only covers Defender for Identity. So when you navigate to security.microsoft.com portal, you will only see one option, which is Defender for Identity. The rest of these options will not be available. Okay. Then let's understand the Defender for Identity architecture. Now, as you see that, as you already know that now Defender for Identity is not a separate service anymore. It is part of Microsoft Defender suite. So here you can see that as part of Microsoft 365 Defender, which is this portal. Now, see, this is the portal that I'm talking about, this portal, Microsoft Defender. This is known as 365 Defender earlier. So they have still not changed the name in some documentation. Now it is Microsoft Defender. Earlier, it used to be known as 365 Defender. So it is part of Microsoft Defender console, and it has the capability to protect your Microsoft Entra ID identities, your third-party identity provider like ForgeRock, Okta, SailPoint, Ping identity, as well as your on-premises domain controllers, Active Directory Federation service, and Active Directory certificate service. So this is the capability of the service from the architectural perspective, and it's an official Microsoft documentation you can see. And this documentation was last updated on 26th of February. That is the reason you don't see this going. When they update the document, they will just say Microsoft Defender. So that's the architecture of the components. Let's look at the prerequisites. So when it comes to the prerequisites, the first prerequisite is license. That if you want to use this service, you need to have license for this service, which I mentioned here. After that, you need to have certain permissions. What are your permissions? You should have access to a role which has Microsoft Entra ID security admin permissions. So you need to use a user. And if you want to onboard this service, you will need to use an account that has Microsoft Entra ID security admin or global admin role. That's the requirement for this service. So you already have that. So we are good. And then obviously you should have license. So you have. So that's the requirement from the perspective. Next is Defender for Identity installation guide. Now, how do you install it? I will show you how do we install it. So I've already mentioned everything here in the form of this is the sequence in which you need to learn this service. So we have understood the prerequisites, we have understood the building blocks of it. Now we are going to install the service. So how do we install it? Here's this documentation that you can refer to. So you just need to install the service. Now, before we install the service, I will run this video, which is 2 minutes of video, and that gives you a quick high-level overview of the capabilities of this service. So I'll run the video now.
Identity attacks are an increasingly popular way for
Are you able to hear, guys?
bad actors to bypass your security
Yes.
Okay, so I will run this video.
protocols and gain access to corporate resources. In this new reality, identity protection has become a key part of modern XDR strategies, and in many cases the first line of defense against attackers. Let's see how easy it is to get started with Microsoft Defender for Identity. To start, we open the Microsoft 365 Defender portal and download the agent installation package. This package can be found by scrolling down in the left-hand menu to the Settings section and clicking Identities. Once your Defender for Identity workspace has been created, navigate to the Sensors page and click the Add Sensors button. From here, click Download Installer. During this step, it's helpful to copy the access key for use later in the installation process. Once downloaded, copy the package to the target server and connect to it. Once connected, unzip the file and run the setup package, then simply follow the wizard. It's at this point you'll need to input the access key we copied earlier. Click Install, and once successful, click Finish. Now navigate back to the 365 Defender portal and refresh the page. You should see an alert banner letting you know that MDI has been successfully installed on the
All right. So this was the installation process in a nutshell. Let's just do this, all of us. So what we need to do here, guys, first of all, I'm saying you can deploy sensor on any virtual machine which is hosting a server operating system, but there is no point of doing it unless it is hosting an Active Directory domain service. So what we need to do, we will first need to deploy Active Directory domain service on a VM and then onboard that VM into Defender for Identity so that it can protect the identities or the domain service from that VM. That's the purpose of it. So let's do this activity. We will need to log into our respective subscription. So I'm here in my subscription. I've got a couple of VMs. Now the first thing is how do we add Active Directory domain service role or promote a server or a VM to a domain controller? Are you aware of that option, guys? You all did
Yes,
that
sir.
Active Directory synchronization, right?
Yes, sir.
AD
Yes.
synchronization, you all did, right? So you're already aware of that part. Now, what I have done just for this demonstration, I have got, so I just asked Dave to deploy ADDS role, Active Directory Domain Service role on this server. So I'll log into this server and I'll show you what happens. You know, when I'm saying, how do you onboard your identity servers or your domain controllers into Microsoft Defender for Identity? So I'll connect to the server. Copy the public IP, take a remote of it. I'm connected to it. And Dave has just done the half of the exercise, it seems. He has not, Dave, have you not deployed domain on it on 2022? It says complete the, okay, let me see. Yeah, okay, it is there. So this is just the synchronization. It still says configure the federation. Oh, it is asking to configure the federation service. That's okay. We don't want to do that. But this virtual machine, you can see, or this server has, as we speak, Active Directory users and computers, capability, which means that this has a domain and the domain name is mdi.com. So I've just asked him to create the domain with the name MDI. So this domain is here. and you've got a couple of users and all of them here. So this is my domain controller. Now let's just assume that this is my production domain controller. And I will need to onboard this into a service that can protect the interest of this domain controller. So what I will do on this domain controller, I will open my security portal. I'm saying I can download the sensor on my local system and then upload it here. But then since I have limited bandwidth from my hotel, I would rather do this activity on the server itself, which will save me bandwidth also. So I've opened the Explorer here. Now I'll open portal.azure.com. And I log in with this user. So I log in with this user, and over here I'll go to, so by default, actually by mistake, I opened this portal. So I'll open security portal, but I don't need to log in once again because it will be the same credential that will be used for security portal also. So I'm logged into security portal. And now understand one thing, this VM is also onboarded in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which means you're going to provide dual layer of protection. Defender for Endpoint will do its job with respect to protecting this virtual machine, with respect to reducing the attack surface area of this virtual machine, with respect to ensuring that the virtual machine runs with a minimum build version, with respect to ensuring that the virtual machine does not accept, does not allow access to removable media devices, storage devices. All that we have configured in the last 1 week, all that will be done on this virtual machine. Plus, in addition to it, this virtual machine has a very critical role, which is Active Directory domain service, that will also be protected by another service, which is Defender for Identity. So I'll directly navigate to systems, and then under systems, you see settings. In the settings, you will see the capability. So any capability that you need to configure, you will always come to settings. So I'll see identities here. I'll click on identities. It will take me to the identities here. And here I see. Now, if you look carefully, I already have one sensor deployed on this VM, ADDS VM, which is here, which is also part of this subscription. This is ADDS VM. It's already, a sensor is already deployed here. But let me show it all over again. That's the reason I've got another VM created for you. So I'll navigate to the VM. And over here in the VM, I'll navigate to the sensor. And over here, there will be an option to add sensor. So I will click on add sensor. And here it says download installer. So I will need to install the sensor on this VM, on this domain controller or Active Directory server. So I'm downloading the installer. Then you also see this access key. This access key is like a password, or it is like an authentication method through which the sensor will be authenticated by Microsoft Defender for Identity. So installer is downloaded. I will just need to copy this key and navigate to the downloads section. Here I see this package, and you can see that though they have changed the name of the service, but still the package continues to say Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection Onboarding Package. So Microsoft will take another couple of months to synchronize everything and put it in order. Right? So Microsoft will take some time. I will just go here and extract it. And now that the extraction is complete, I will just need to run this script. All right, so I see the script. All I need to do is double click on it and it will run. Now the smart screen is coming, so I will click on more info and I will click on run anyway. And here it says press yes to confirm, to continue, and Y to cancel, no to cancel. So I'll click on Y and hit enter. Now it will start to run. So you can see it is running. The service was already running. Defender for Endpoint service was already running because it also uses the same service, or it collaborates with Defender for Endpoint. It says successfully onboarded the machine in Defender for Endpoint. Is this Defender for Endpoint? Okay, guys, I think I downloaded it. I ran the package of Defender for Endpoint once again. It was not downloaded actually. Let me see. My bad. Let me go to the edge. Oh, probably I downloaded it on my local system. No problem. Let me do that once again. Security.microsoft.com. Identities. And then add sensor. Download installer. Okay, guys, so we have a policy, right? Indicator. Defender for Endpoint has an indicator which is actually blocking this download because in that indicator we have disabled blob download. This is stored in the Azure storage account in the backend. So it is because it is happening. So let me just fix. So you will also face the same issue. I'm saying what we can do to get this, to fix this issue, there are two ways. Either you remove that IOC. So I would rather go to another tab. I'll tell you exactly what is causing this issue, why I'm not able to download it, because of that IOC actually. because of this IOC Azure Blob Storage. See, right now this is configured in monitor mode. So what it is doing, it is configured in monitor mode. So what I will do, I will just take action and tag as, I'll just remove it from monitor mode actually. Tag as sanctioned. Okay. However, it will take time. This policy will take time to update on the endpoint. So the easiest way to do that, I will just go to my local system. On my local system, I'll download the sensor and upload it real quick. So I'll log into my local system. On my local system, I'll get the sensor. So it's downloading the sensor on my local system. All right, so I've configured it. So it is working now. I'll just click on allow so that it gets downloaded. So this was getting blocked basically, storage.blob.core.windows.net. And this is exactly where, this is the backend storage of Microsoft where it keeps everything. So it is downloaded now. I'll just go and open it. Here's the sensor. I will just extract it. Is everyone with me on this? This is what is extracted. Am I audible, guys?
Yeah.
Yep. So you need to extract the sensor and then just install it. So just click on install.
Raghuveer, in that video, it has the it was mentioned that a security administrator role should be there for the user who is installing this, right?
Yeah. So security administrator or global admin. Why it says security administrator? Because it follows the principle of least privilege. Security admin is the least privilege that you need for the user who is deploying all of this. So you already have global admin. I'm also logged in with global admin, so I don't need to bother about it.
So global admin on Entra ID, right?
Yeah, security admin or Entra. Because see, all this, the entire authentication and authorization, Entra ID is responsible for. And so you need security admin or global admin on Entra.
Correct.
Okay.
But when we had implemented AD Connect agent, right, that time we had requirement for certain roles on Active Directory also. Like the enterprise administrator role should be there on Active Directory and global admin role. So here there is no requirement for any role to be there on Active Directory, right?
No. Why it is not needed? Understand, because you're deploying this sensor, this agent on the domain controller, and this agent will need to authenticate to cloud portal. And cloud portal authentication happens through Entra ID. This agent doesn't need any authentication from the local system because it will be sitting locally on the system itself. That is the
Okay.
reason you don't need any role on the local system.
Understood.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
So I will click on next. The other thing why it doesn't need any role, because in case of AD Connect needed to synchronize the identities from Active Directory. So it needs access on Active Directory. Then it needs to synchronize those identities in the cloud. So it needed access on cloud also. But in this case, in this sensor case, sensor doesn't need to read anything from the Active Directory. Sensor is more inclined towards reading the logs from the server. And to read the logs, it doesn't need any permission on the Active Directory. For sensor, Active Directory is nothing but an application which it understands from the code that is fed into it. Okay?
Yeah.
So it clearly says the sensor is installed directly on your local domain controllers and monitors local network traffic. The sensor also performs dynamic resource limitation based on the domain controller load. So that's what this sensor does. We'll click on next. Then it requires the access key. So we need the access key. We'll go to this website. I'm saying we'll go to the portal. We'll copy the access key and then we'll provide the access key to the sensor. So we'll paste the access key here and we'll click on install. That's it. Simple installation. We just need to download the sensor, provide the access key for authorization so that it will know where exactly it needs to connect with and send the information to. All right, it got installed. Now, as soon as it got installed, if you go back to the portal, if I go to settings once again, if I navigate to identities, I will see my server Active Directory domain services or my domain controller listed here. So you can see it is now listed. This is the server Windows 2022 SQL. I actually have got ADDS services installed on it. So here you can see the server. Now it also shows you the additional information, which is which domain it is part of. So you can see the domain controller. It is a domain controller sensor. It is the domain which is configured is mdi.com. And then right now the status is stopped. Service status is stopped, so it will start in some time. Automatically, it will refresh in some time. The sensor status is up to date. Version package, health status not healthy, health issues 1, and then today's date when it was created. So when I refresh the portal, because you've just deployed the sensor, it will take a couple of minutes to synchronize and you will start to see information coming. Now it doesn't require any additional configuration because by default, it has all the capabilities that it needs to monitor your domain services, Active Directory domain services. So it's refreshing the portal. And now you can see the service status is running. The status has changed. It is now running. And very soon the things will resolve. And if there are any issues, we can also check it. So that's how we onboard a server or an identity service into Microsoft Defender for Identity. Is everyone with me so far?
Yes.
All right, let's move on. So we are done with the quick installation guide. I've also shared the URL because that's the same information you will find here. Then comes event collection with Microsoft Defender for Identity. Now, as I said, by default, when it comes to the Active Directory domain services, the sensor is configured to collect events and parse the traffic that is coming in and going out. However, if you have additional roles installed, which is Active Directory Federation Service, Active Directory Certificate Service, for that you need to do some specific configurations. So it says Microsoft Defender for Identity Sensor is configured to automatically collect syslog events. For Windows events, Defender for Identity relies on specific event logs, which the sensor parses from your domain control. And this is the configuration that you basically need to do. So it says that for ADFS, these are the event IDs that are related to ADFS. And for ADCS, these are the event IDs. Now, this is more on a AD part. So people who are from AD background, they will understand this part. And these are some additional event IDs that I basically look for. So you can see these are the event IDs that it looks for. So whenever a user account is deleted, it will generate an alert. Whenever an operation was performed an object, member added to global security group. Let's say you provision a user and add that user to enterprise admin group. It's an excessive privilege that you just granted. So Defender for Identity will quickly pick this behavior and generate an investigation into the portal. Right? Global security group deleted, member added to local security group, computer account added or deleted, all of these events. So for each action or each operation, there is a corresponding event ID. So it basically monitors for these event ID. This is what it monitors basically. So if you have ADCS and ADFS services, it will monitor this. Otherwise, it is monitoring these event IDs. So that's what you need to saying you don't need to configure that. You first need to have these services and then you will be configuring it. You don't need to configure the Windows logs that automatically works. But for ADFS and ADCS, you need to configure. And for that, you already have a URL here that you can click on and follow the instructions. The reason we cannot do it because we don't have these services yet. So this is what it basically does from configuration perspective. So this is what I'm showing you, that how do we configure sensor. Then look at some of the configuration from the portal. So I'll refresh my portal once again.
Raghuveer, there is the add sensor button still appears, right? Does it mean that we can add more sensors on the same domain controller?
No. It basically means that we can add sensors on additional machines, additional domain controllers. Probably your company is a multinational company and it has multiple domains that it maintains. And each domain is hosted on multiple, on a standalone server or multiple server. So it basically means add sensor basically means if you have additional servers which are hosting domain related services, please onboard them here also. That's what it means. So you can add more machines here. For example, right now I have two separate domains, cloudexpert.com and mdi.com, and both are onboarded into Defender for Identity.
Perfect. But the sensor is required for non-Azure AD integration, right? The Entra ID is by default.
I didn't get that point. Non-Azure AD. What is non-Azure AD?
Like the non-Entra ID domain controllers can be integrated through this sensor installation, but Entra ID is by default integrated. So if any privileged user is added to Entra ID, we will get the logs for that also, right?
Absolutely. And that's where you have Sentinel also, because you in Sentinel you have also configured Entra ID connector. So any operations that happens on Entra ID, and if there is a corresponding analytics rule, that will also generate an incident. So you have dual protection here for Entra ID. As far as these servers goes, here you also have dual protection, because I'm assuming that you're not only onboarding these servers in Defender for Identity, but you also onboard them in Defender for Endpoint. Or let's say you have third-party EDR solution. Let's say CrowdStrike. So I'm sure you have added these servers in CrowdStrike, plus you have also onboarded them in Defender for Identity. And both solutions have their specific use cases that they deliver. Right?
Yeah, right.
Great. So let's look at the configuration. So as I said, the entire Microsoft Defender console and all the services which exist here, if you want to do the service onboarding and service configuration, you always need to go into systems, then navigate to settings, and you see the service name. Click on the service name, and then you do the service onboarding or service configuration or onboarding subjects into the services. So over here, you have a couple of configurations that you need to be aware of. For example, there's a configuration for health issues. So it basically shows you the health issues. If there is any health issues with the onboarded machines or onboarded identity servers. Now what they have done, they have moved this capability from here to here. Under identities, you see health issues here. So they have moved it from here to here. So if you want to see health issues, we'll click on identities, and then we see dashboard and health issues. So I'll click on health issues. Now I will see health issues here. So you can see I've got some health issues here. For example, I have these three health issues, which is directory service object auditing is not configured as required, and directory services advanced auditing is not configured. So these are the health issues. Now I can also see sensor health issues, which is the NTLM auditing is not enabled. Now this is for SQL MDI. Why? Since it was meant for SQL Server, I have not enabled this NTLM auditing. So I can go inside the VM and enable it. So you can see how it is quickly capturing the AD related configurations. It is not generating findings for any other application which is deployed in the server. It is only generating it for AD related applications. So here you can see it. Then you can click on any of it, and you can click on the alert. It gives you the details of it. It shows you the recommendation also that how you can fix this part. You can also close the health issues, or you can suppress this also. So this is how it shows you the health issues. The main part that you need to be aware of is the dashboard, which is very important for this service. So let's look at the dashboard of this service, and let's see what all capabilities it brings on the table by default. Okay, so now that we have seen the dashboard, it says identity threat detection and response dashboard. That's what it basically means. So this dynamic dashboard is offering a centralized view of critical insights and real-time data about identity threat detection and response. Now let's see the dashboard. So the dashboard tells you that you have both cloud users as well as on-premise users. Why? Because it also integrates with Microsoft Entra ID. So it knows that you have cloud users in Entra ID, and you have on-premise users also, and hybrid users also. Hybrid users basically means users which are also synchronized in cloud. But then you also have on-premise. Why it says on-premise? Because this 2022 SQL that I enrolled into Microsoft Defender for Identity just now, it also contains some users which are not configured to synchronize to Microsoft Entra ID through Entra ID Connect. Then we then you can see here are the top insights. Anything that it wants to bring to your attention is 0 users are identified as risky, and 0 users are considered as dormant in AD. Dormant basically means user accounts that has not been used for logging for a long term. That's what dormant is. Then comes IDTR deployment health, the identity threat detection response deployment health. You can see here sensors are deployed on how many domain controllers? 2 by 2. Right? Now the question is, what if you have additional domains in your environment, but you have not onboarded them here? Will Defender for Identity recognize that there are additional domains in your environment, and it will show you that you have only onboarded some of it, not all of them? What do you think, guys? Will it know out of 1,000 VMs that you have, 20 VMs have 80 services deployed on it. What do you think? Will it know or not?
I think through Defender for identity, it would know, right? If those agents are there. Sorry,
Okay.
Defender for endpoint. Sorry, if Defender for endpoint is there.
Absolutely, you're right. If those servers are onboarded into Defender for endpoint, then Defender for identity is basically collaborates with Defender for endpoint, and it will quickly know whether on one of those servers Active Directory domain services are installed. And if it is installed, then this is where you will see it under dashboard, wherein it will say, right now it says 2 by 2. Imagine there are 3 domains and I've only onboarded 2 domains. Then it will say 2 out of 3. So it exactly knows in your environment how many domain controllers are provided if those servers are onboarded into Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, because it fetches that information from Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Is everyone with me on this? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Next, MDI health issues. So we have one health issue of medium. I'm saying we have health issues of medium category. That's the reason it comes here. Then you can see the license. It is available. Entra ID protection is also available. It shows some quick guide, which is how do you integrate MDI with XDR, which we have already done on day 1. And then quick installation guide, the one that I've already put the URL into the, which is here, quick installation guide in the script. So you see this information. Then comes the identity score. It also shows you the score of identities. Obviously, that score will increase over a period of time. Yesterday, when I tested this service, I actually did some, I actually simulated some attacks, because after the service is configured, it takes a couple of hours as usual, similar to other products, to actually capture the behavior. So since we had limited time, I'm saying we have limited time today, I have already configured on a different system, and I'll show you that what attacks I simulated and how where the result is. So that's the reason as soon as it got installed, its secure score was good. But then since I started simulating the attack, it started to come down. Okay, so this is your identity score. Then you click on, you can also improve your score. You can view history. I'm saying if you want to improve the score, you will need to look for recommendations, which are there. And that recommendation part comes here under secure score. So there's a separate window for it that I will come to. Let me go to dashboard first. Okay, let's scroll it down. Then you see all your users. It will exactly show you that you have high privileged identities. It says you have 5 users that have global admin permission on Entra ID. There are 2 users with security admin permissions, and there are 6 users which are sensitive. These are the users which are sensitive. So you see all the information here. You can see all the identities, because now that you have deployed this service can show you all the identities from cloud, as well as from on-premises, as well as hybrid identities. It can quickly give you a dump of it or an inventory of it. So it is just running a query to get that information. You can see here. The query is loaded. And see that information is coming from where? It is coming from Sentinel. So it is running that query into Sentinel to fetch this information. This is the query that it is running. My system is running a bit slow. That's the reason it is taking time. But that's what it does. And so it can quickly give you the required information here, and you see the results. So now the query is running, and you can see all the information. It shows you the dump of all the user identities that you have. So this capability, now understand the linking. The Defender for endpoint, the Defender for identity is collaborating with Defender for endpoint to inquire if there are domain controller services in the environment. If yes, then it will show it in its dashboard stating that these many out of these are deployed. Then it also interacts with Sentinel, wherein if you want to get certain data from Defender for Identity, that data actually comes from Sentinel, because Sentinel has the capability to process the logs, or Sentinel has the capability to understand KQL queries, and then Sentinel shows you the result. Or Microsoft has intentionally done it so that Microsoft can increase the adoption of various security services by putting in some dependencies or linkage from one service to another, so that the user gets to see the capability of another service also. That's why they do it. So we'll come back to the previous window. Okay, so here we see the user information, we see the account information, we see the all identities, and then you can see both the domains, you can see the user which is at risk. So there is one user which is at risk, because what I did with that user, I actually ran some elevated commands yesterday, and that also generated the alerts, so that I'll show you today. Now see, understand, it is taking me to the Azure portal now. So when I click on risky user, it takes me to the Azure portal. So see how Microsoft has configured the linking, the website linking or integration. So here I see this as a risky user. Why it shows it's a risky user? Because with this user, I've generated some simulations. That's the reason this is coming as a risky user. Now, since this is a risky user, it says that you can reset the password of this user. You can confirm user is compromised, or you can confirm user is safe, or you can dismiss this risk, or you can block the user. These are the options that I have here. And if I want to see why this user is risky, then I can click on users risk detections. So here I can see the detections. So I will show you why this user is risky from my email directly, and then I'll show you some alert on the portal also, which I simulated yesterday with this user. So if I go to my email, you can see here, there are some alerts which are coming. So here you can see there is an alert that clearly says from this VM, this is the VM that I onboarded. On this VM, you can see suspicious RDP session was detected by Microsoft Defender for Endpoint on this VM. So there was a suspicious session on the VM from this user. Then what I did, I don't know whether you've heard about this tool, Mimikatz. Has anyone heard about this tool?
It is a hacking. Yeah, it is a hacking tool.
We have heard
Yeah. So this is a tool using which you can quickly dump all the user and identity information along with their passwords and hashes from a domain controller. Now, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is very intelligent. It understands this tool. So what I did, when I tried to download this tool on this domain controller, it did not allow me to do that. Right? It basically blocked the download. Then what I did after that, I tried to copy this tool. I downloaded it on my local system, and then I copied it to the domain controller. And as soon as I put it on the domain controller and tried to execute it, the Defender for Endpoint once again captured it, and it blocked the execution of it. And that's exactly what it says, that the title is Mimikatz Credential Theft Tool, and this was running on this device. So this is the another incident that I get. Then after that, you can see, then I ran some commands also, some PowerShell commands. And for those commands, I see the information here. It says compromised account conducting hands-on keyboard attack. So I was running certain commands, like I was trying to access the DNS information. I was trying to access the enterprise admin privilege user information. I was trying to add a user to the domain admins group. For that, I got a lot of email alerts here. Now the same thing I'll show you in the portal how it came. So I'll navigate to the portal and I go to investigations and response, investigations and alerts, and then alerts. So this is the operational side of this solution. So over here, you will see a lot of alerts that are basically there. For example, this I also ran. On the VM. So you can see this alert. This I ran on the VM. Then I'll show you some additional alerts that got generated as part of the activity. Let me leave. This one, you can see compromised account conducting hands-on keyboard action, anti-malware action taken. User was created. You can see here. So this is what I did. I created an account and granted it admin privileges. So it says user was created or modified by a compromised account. So I created a user and you can see the account that I used to create it was Defender XDR, right? So it was quickly captured. This attack was quickly captured by, it says a user account was created or was added to a privileged group by an account that deployed ransomware or conducted a hands-on keyboard attack. These activities might be an attempt by an hacker, by an attacker to maintain persistence and bypass attempts. So this is what it basically came from this. And I can click on manage alert. So you see all the information over here. Okay. Then similarly, if I go back into alerts, I'm saying the incidents, you will see some incidents are also created here. So here you can see you can see this is what I did. So you can see what all alerts, what all has happened here. This is the ADDS VM. The attack was getting triggered here. View 5 processes that I ran, some files that I tried to download from the server. All that information is coming here. So you can see investigations in this, suspicious RDP session, and Mimikatz credential theft tool. So this all I did, and this is the detection source for it. So this is how it basically prevents, and you can see all the files, evidences, URLs that I was trying to browse to download the tool actually. I was trying to get the tool from GitHub. You can see it prevented it. IP address, this was the IP address that was used. All the information you will get. And then the files that I was trying to run. So you can see all of these commands, Mimecast exe suspicious. I actually deployed it here. So first, when it did not run, in fact, I tried Chrome also. So since I blocked the Chrome through its, Chrome through certificates, I could not access Chrome. Then I, tried to download it. I also put it from my system. All that was not allowed on this domain controller. And here it shows all the activities. So these are the commands that I was running: net.exe, explorer.exe, edge I opened, LCSA command, CMD. In the command prompt, I did some activities. All that information you will find here. So I use this user, Azure user. And with this Azure user, I went into the command prompt and I ran this command SHA, organizations, first scene, last scene, all the information that you will find here. So this is what Defender for Identity does with collaboration from Defender for Endpoint and Sentinel and other solutions. Is everyone with me on this?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. I'll show you some additional options which are there. So we have dashboard, health issues and tools. Let's first complete the dashboard part. So we have seen all the options here. Dashboard, in the dashboard part, users, domains, and users at risk, all the information we have seen here. Identity related incidents will come here. We've seen all the information. Then comes this secure score, which is 68% now. So if you want to see what is affecting my secure score or what contributes to this low score, you will navigate to secure score over here. Under exposure management, you see an option that says secure score. So you can navigate to secure score here. You see the secure score, then you can filter. Recommended actions, and here you can filter it. So I can filter it for the service. I'm saying I have a lot of recommendations because I have 5-6 security services deployed and they all are generating recommendations. But I'm more interested in recommendations that are coming from Defender for Identity because that is affecting my secure score. So I can come here and I can filter the service and I can select Defender for Identity. Over here, Defender for Identity, and I can hit apply. Now it will only show me the recommendations from Defender for Identity. So you can see some recommendations I addressed yesterday, some recommendations are new. For example, it says resolve unsecure domain configurations. This is one recommendation that I have. And you can see when I do it, these are the points that I will achieve. And this is the score increase that will happen. It will increase my score by 0.38%. If I resolve this, disable print spooler service on domain controller, resolve unsecure account attribute, set a honey token account, configure VPN integration. So these are the issues that I need to address. And if I address these issues, I will be able to get the good score. These are the 5 things that I need to address. And with that, I will be able to do it. For example, I will need to resolve unsecure account attributes. So I can click on it and see what it basically means and what are those attributes that I need to fix or how I need to, resolve unsecure domain configurations. So all this information is shown here. I see the exposed identities also. Both the domain controllers have unsecured domain configurations that needs to be resolved. And I can edit the status and action plan for it, which is nothing but the operational stuff. So this is how you can see the you can see the recommendations that affects the secure score for a service. And if you just take into consideration them, then your secure score will be increased, effectively. So that's on the secure score part. So this was on the dashboard. Health issues I've already shown. Then comes the tools. So there are some tools which are available that you can take leverage, that you can make use of, and that will basically help you to, optimize the experience. So for example, we have a tool which is sizing tool. Now this tool we basically use in a production environment wherein we want to do a sizing. This used to be useful at a time when we had a separate portal, but now that everything is integrated with XDR and it is more of a optimized SaaS service, I don't think a need of this tool, but they still have it under tools. So it says the recommended and simplest way to determine capacity for your Defender for endpoint deployment is to use Defender for Identity sizing tool. Similarly, this takes you to the documentation of Defender for Identity. There are some scripts which are available that using which you can query your domain controllers and CA certificate servers to report if the different Microsoft Defender for Identity prerequisites are in place or not. So if you, even before you onboard virtual machines in Defender for Identity, you can run the prerequisites, whether they meet the prerequisites or not, from the portal perspective, from the prerequisites perspective. For example, what are my prerequisites from OS perspective? Can I onboard a Windows Server 2008 R2 Active Directory into MDI? Can I onboard, guys? Windows Server 2008 R2?
No, I guess it doesn't support.
No, no.
What about Windows 2012 R2?
No.
Most names are basically 2012 R2 you can install.
Right, so that information is basically available here, guys. As I said, sometimes you don't need to remember everything. You just need to have the right approach to look for information. So over here, you can see the information with respect to the operating system. Minimum OS requirement. It says Defender for identity sensors can be installed on the following operating system. 2016, and if you deploy it on 2019, you require this KB. This is similar to a KB which we needed when we onboarded Microsoft Defender for endpoint on a 2016 server and for 2022, right? It says for legacy. Legacy means Windows Server 2012 and 2012 R2. They reached extended end of support in October last year. So they say that we recommend you to upgrade those servers because Microsoft no longer supports Defender for identity sensors on devices running 2012 and 2012 R2. Forgot about 2008. They are not even talking about it. They're just saying that we don't support this anymore. So yes, it doesn't support. If you want to see the port perspective that what my ports are, so TCP outbound on outbound to 443 should be open. And if they need the specific URL, then this is the URL, which is star.atp.azure.com. So from the VM where the sensor is deployed, the communication to internet on port 443 outbound to this URL must be configured. So it shows you the port and communication requirements also. So that is where you don't need to remember things. You can always have reference to the documentation, right? So the same thing this command will do. You run this command on any of the server which is running the domain controller. It will quickly check whether it has connectivity outbound to 443 on atp.azure.com. It will have the supported version of operating system. It will quickly check everything. Then you also have a PowerShell module for it. See, you already know PowerShell is a scripting tool and PowerShell has libraries. So for every solution that you have from Microsoft, there's a PowerShell library available. So similar to this, Microsoft Defender for Identity also has a PowerShell library. You can deploy this PowerShell too. You just need to click on Start Configuring. You just need to type install module. I'm saying this is the command that you need to type, which is install module -name Defender for Identity. So in your existing PowerShell, you just need to download this module, authenticate, and then you can manage some of the aspects from PowerShell also. So that's what this tool is all about. I'm back. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Great. All right. So while we were on break, I just ran an integration. So I have my I have my Azure subscription integrated with LinkedIn, wherein I just put all of your information and ran a script. And I'm sure you must have received connection requests from me in the last 5-10 minutes. The only two people that I could not connect was Roshni because the script failed. It did not find Roshni on LinkedIn. Probably Roshni is there with some other name. And it also failed for, no, it only failed for Roshni. So that's another automation that you need to be aware of. And let's talk about automation now. That where exactly automation comes into the picture when it comes to all of these solutions. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yeah.
Great. So let's just, so we'll go back to Sentinel now. We are done with, I want to see the automation of Sentinel. There has been some changes with the logic app that I have not tested yet, but let's just do the automation part. Automating the remediation of Sentinel incidents using automation playbooks, which is known as powered by Logic App. So let's understand the automation, guys. Now we have configured some analytics rule, and one of the analytics rule that we have is Azure Portal brute force attack. I hope most of you have configured this analytics rule, which is Azure Portal brute force attack. And this analytics rule, what it does, based on the query or rule logic that you have configured, it runs that query at a schedule that you configure. And if it finds any results in the form of failed logon from more than one location for more than one IP address for the same user, if it finds a successive logon failure attempt from a user from more than one location, more than one IP, it will constitute that as a brute force attack and it will generate an incident in the portal. That's what the rule does. Is everyone with me so far?
Yes.
Okay. Now what we want to do as part of this rule, I want to perform some auto remediation. My auto remediation, there are two auto remediations that I want to do. The first auto remediation that I want to do is that whenever such incident occurs in the portal, whenever such incident happens in the portal related to brute force attack, the user identity involved must be disabled with immediate effect. It must be disabled with immediate effect so that no further attack will be triggered or will be executed until the investigation is complete by the forensic team. That's the first thing that I want to do, that the user identity involved must be disabled with immediate effect. Second, the user manager must be informed. There could be more. The incident, as soon as it is generated, must be assigned to a team or specific individual. To ensure SLA, to ensure no breach of SLA, the incident severity. What is the severity of brute force attack, guys, that we configured in the rule, in the analytics rule? What is the severity? Is it high, medium, low? High severity, right? Now, if let's say the attack is triggered, the automation ran, which disabled the user with immediate effect. The user account got disabled. The manager was informed, and the incident was assigned to a specific team or an individual. Now, do you want to continue with the same severity or you want to reduce the severity? Because severity is directly related to the SLA. The higher is the severity, quicker is the resolution time, and SLA also. So the incident severity should change to medium, because now that the incident is assigned to somebody, so the severity should change to medium. This is all auto remediation. These are all expected actions that I need. So let's configure these options. So first of all, what I will do, I will first simulate an attack so that I will have some data flowing in. So let's simulate an attack. I have this virtual machine this 2022 server, which is in US. On this virtual machine, I will simulate an attack with one identity. So I'm simulating an attack with one identity from my Entra, which is level 1 user. So you can see here level 1 user. At present, the account status is enabled, user account is enabled, right? So I will copy its UPN, go to the VM, type the UPN, and intentionally I'll type the incorrect password. Hit sign in once, then I'll go back to the browser, type the URL once again, portal.azure.com. Type the UPN once again for level 1 and type the password, and I'll sign in. So it is incorrect. Now what I'll do, I'll probably simulate it using 2 users at a time. So user 1 I've done. I'll go to user 2 also. I'll navigate to Entra ID once again. Pick up another user, level 1, level 2 user. You can see level 2 user is also enabled. Copy its UPN. Type portal.azure.com. And then type its password, incorrect password basically, to simulate an attack. So incorrect password is typed. I'll once again type the URL. Type the password. And it shows incorrect. So the attack is, so from level 1 and level 2 users, I signed in using the incorrect password, which qualifies for brute force attack. Not right now, because the IP address is only 1. In order to qualify for brute force attack, I will also need to sign in from another country, from another IP address. So I'll probably sign in here. So I'll type portal.azure.com here. Here I can click on different account and type level 2 user. Type the password, incorrect. It's coming as incorrect. Once again, I'll type portal.azure.com. Sign in with a different user. Type the user ID and type the password. Incorrect. Now I'll pick up this information for user 1 also. Sorry, level 1 user. Type the incorrect password. All right. So I'm logged in. I have intentionally simulated an attack on Azure portal by picking up 2 user identities, level 1 and level 2. by intentionally typing the incorrect passwords from two different locations. One is United States, the other one from India, which qualifies for a brute force attack as per the analytics rule logic. Is everyone with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay, let's configure the automation now. So I'll navigate to the Sentinel. I'll navigate to Microsoft Sentinel. This is my Sentinel workspace. These are the incidents. Obviously, the incident will not come right now because these sign-in logs will first get into the Active Directory Entra ID. From there, they will be streamed into Log Analytics workspace, and then Log Analytics workspace analytics rule has a query which is scheduled to run every 5-10 minutes, 5 hours, whatever the time frame I've given. And based on that query, it will pick up the logs, right? It will pick up the logs and it will generate the incident. So that's how it is. So first, let's look at the automation part. So I'll configure the automation now. Now, how do we configure the automation? In Microsoft Sentinel, we configure automation using automation playbooks. And automation playbooks is powered by Logic App. So Logic App is a workflow automation service in Azure, and it is not only for Microsoft Sentinel. It can be used with any other service. So Logic App is the workflow automation. Workflow automation service in Azure. This is where it sits. If you want to see where the service is, I'll probably duplicate the portal. So I'll show you. So here, if I type, there's the Logic App. This is the Logic App that you see basically. So I'll delete anything which is there in the Logic App. So this is the Logic App service. This is where you create workflow automation. In fact, in Azure today, this has happened in the last 1 year with most of the services that you have. For example, virtual machines. If you want to configure some automation around virtual machines, which includes shutting down and bringing up virtual machine at a specific time, you have that option available. In the virtual machine blade at the bottom, you will see an option that says automation. Now, this is common in most of the services. So you can click on automation task, which says preview. Preview means this has been recently launched. And here you can add a task. The task could be like, this is the template that you will select. You can send monthly cost for resources. You can power off the virtual machine, power on the virtual machine, deallocate the virtual machine at a scheduled time of the day, right? So these are some automations. You will configure it and then they will run as per the schedule. This is possible through Logic App. You go to any service, I'm saying even if you go to storage account, you will see similar behavior there also. So if I click on any of the storage account, I'll go inside, I'll see this option, which is automation here, and I'll see some task.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, Raghuvi. Sorry to interrupt, but your screen is stuck on Microsoft Sentinel page. Is it?
Is it the same case with everyone?
No, Kunal, we can see it.
No, we can see.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Let's move on. So here I can click on add task. You can see here, and I can see send monthly cost for resources, delete old blobs. So any service that you navigate to, let's say I navigate to SQL servers. I don't have any actually. So I can only navigate to a service which I have provisioned. Let's say virtual network. So I navigate to virtual networks and I click on any of the virtual network. Let's see if I have some automation here also. Yep, there is an automation task. So I can click on task here and I'll see some task also here, which is send monthly cost for resources. So Azure is adding automation to every service slowly and gradually. Azure is moving towards Copilot. Azure is embracing AI as much as possible, right? And as in when I feel a specific use case, I test it for myself. For example, I have SSO done with LinkedIn. which means from my Microsoft ID, I can log into LinkedIn. From my Microsoft account, I can just upload a CSV and I can send thousands of connection requests to people out there, and it will not throttle. However, from your LinkedIn account, you can only send a limited number of connection requests per day, not more than 50. That's the limit. But I can send 1,000 because I'm using automation. So automation is everywhere. The sooner you embrace automation, it will help you in the long run. So you can see Azure is also putting in automation everywhere. Okay, let's move on. So let's talk about Sentinel now. Now, if I want to automate Sentinel, if I want to automate my SOC experience when the brute force attack is very critical to my environment, I don't want my mission critical application. Azure portal is my mission critical application. It should not suffer from brute force attack. But if it happens, I should I will make sure that the caller, the identity, which is compromised or which is executing the attack is disabled. I give utmost priority to the incident, and I have automation through which the incident will quickly be assigned to a team or a specific individual. The user's manager will be informed then and there, and the incident severity will be changed. I can put more that you will see when we configure it. So for that, I will need to configure the Logic app. Now, Logic app is a workflow automation service. It based on the principle of if and but. If this happens, then what needs to be done? If and next, if and next. And it will take time to get a good comfort level with Logic app. So Microsoft Sentinel comes to your rescue. Microsoft Sentinel, as part of Content Hub, as part of its Content Hub solution, it basically provides you a solution in the Content Hub, and that solution comprises of multiple things. So a solution which is part of a Content Hub comprises of a data connector. It comprises of workbooks.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. So I was talking about this API connection part, that Logic app will need to communicate and authenticate and authorize to services that it needs to work with. So Logic app needs to communicate with Microsoft Entra ID so that it can disable the account. Logic app needs to communicate with Microsoft Sentinel so that it can pick up the user information from the from the entities. And Logic app needs to communicate with Office 365 so that it can send emails. Three things Logic app needs to do. For that, we are creating the connection. So we'll click on API connection and then we'll click on authorize. So I will need to use an account that has permissions on Microsoft Entra ID, which is at security admin or global admin level. So for that, I will need to put my Defender XDR account. This is my Defender XDR account. I'll copy it and I'll put the Defender XDR account information, and then I'll type the password. So I have done the authentication. So that authentication is complete. If I go back to the window, which window was it? This one. So here you can see it says authorization was successful. Please save your changes. So I will save changes. So I have just authenticated, or I've just connected my Logic app with Microsoft Entra ID and a user in Entra ID that has appropriate permissions to disable the account. So this part is done. It says it is successful. I'll go back to the overview tab and you will see here the status is coming as connected now. So my Logic app is connected with Microsoft Entra ID. Is everyone with me so far?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next, We'll go to next, which is Microsoft Sentinel. Now here you don't need to provide Microsoft Sentinel connection. Why? Because your logic app will be saved in Sentinel itself. We will, so whatever logic app that we are creating here, we will directly, we will directly add this logic app to Sentinel portal itself. So that is why we don't need to create any authorization for Sentinel. So this part is okay. Next, which is Office 365. So here we will do the API connection with Office 365. Now you will need to provide an account here. When you want to do the authorization for this, you need to provide an account that has a valid mailbox, because Logic app will only use that account to send email. So that account will be the sender, and it will send email to the manager of the user, whosoever is the manager. So you need to provide an account that has a valid mailbox. Now, I do not have mailbox on any of my account in Microsoft. I'm saying this account, but just for the sake of showing you the integration part, I will show you. So I will use Defender XDR, assuming that Defender XDR has a valid mailbox. Now you will say that can we provide our personal email accounts? No, we cannot provide our personal email accounts. It doesn't accept it. If you want to see it, I will show you once again. So I'll say discard. I will click on authorize, and I'll provide my Microsoft account or any other account. Let's see the account with which I actually signed up to this Azure, which is Dev Raj Sharma 8800 at outlook.com. And I say next. So it goes into the verification part, probably. Use your password instead. Your password is Devraj at J04. Devraj04. Okay. I'll provide the password and I'll say yes. Now it says authorization successful. It typically gives an error here. I don't know why it is not giving an error, because it knows that whether the user has, probably when I save it will give me the error. It should give me an error actually. Okay, it says successfully edited the, okay, I got the error. You can see here, it says the test connection failed. So what it did, whatever email address you will provide, it will quickly try to send an email to that email address. And since that email address doesn't have a mailbox associated with it, the error will come. And it also says only work or school accounts are supported. So I cannot use my personal account, right? So the email part will not work here because I don't have an account. So I will just click on save. It says fail to save the connection. So I'll discard it. I will authorize with Defender XDR account. With Defender XDR account, it will be authorized, though it will not be able to save email with that account also, because the account does not have a valid mailbox associated with it. So it says successfully edited the connection, and I'll save it. That's okay. Leave this part. Any which ways, we are not sending the email. So we'll go to the overview tab, and it says connected. That was the synchronization error. It says connected. However, I will know no email will go because the account with which I connected the API does not have a valid mailbox. So that's a different thing. Now we are done with the connection part, API connection part. We'll go back to the Logic App Designer. Now let's understand how Logic App Designer will work. And this is where I need you to focus carefully. So what will happen, since this logic app will directly be deployed into Sentinel, as soon as the incident comes, the logic app will get triggered. It will pick up the incident. The first thing that it will do, it will pick up the incident. That will be here. So it says it is connected to Microsoft Sentinel block Entra ID user incident, this logic app. So it is connected to this this portal. So it will pick up the incident, then it will get the entities, and this is entities. It will connect to this incident, so it will get the entities here. Entities basically means, so let's go to Sentinel, then you will understand this part. Working a bit slow, but that's okay. So basically the logic app will need to pick up the username which is involved in the incident, and username could be the same for multiple users. I'm saying there could be multiple employees in the organization with the name Ram Kumar, but their UPN will be different. It cannot happen that their email addresses are same or user principal name is same. So what this logic app is going to do, this is going to pick up the UPN. And from where it will pick up the UPN, let's see. So this is my analytics rule. Azure portal brute force attack. I'll edit this rule. This is the rule. If I go to the rule logic, understand this carefully. So in the rule logic, what the entity says. So in the rule logic, if I click on entity mapping, look carefully. It says user principal name. User principal name is contained in which field? It is contained in which field? ID field. Is everyone with me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So user principal name, because that's the unique name of the user, which is contained in which field? ID field. And ID field is configured where in the entities? You can see ID field is configured in which entity? Account entity. This is the entity, right? So entity is very important here, because unless logic app knows that which user it needs to disable, it will not do anything. So what we need to do, we need to provide this entity to logic app, account entity, because account entity contains the ID and ID contains the user principal name that needs to be disabled. So that's the logic, and that's exactly what we will configure in the runbook now. So we go to the runbook. Where is my runbook? Okay, so runbook is here. So you go to the logic app, and this is what we will configure now. So you go to the logic app designer. And here we will configure it. So it says Microsoft Sentinel. This is, it says no additional information is needed for this step. You will be able to use the output in the subsequent step, which is okay. We don't need to provide anything in the entities. This is where you need to provide the information. So please click on change connection and see what it is connected to. This is select an existing connection or create a new one. This is connected to this Microsoft Sentinel block ID. So it is get the entity information from here, and then for each basically means if there are 20 users who are involved into brute force attack, it will update that user, which is disabled user, right? It needs to disable the user. So we'll click here and we will see that account enabled is no. So we will disable the user here. And for that, we will need to provide the entity here. That is very important here because how it will get the user information. So here it says select an output from previous step is account. So it will pick up the account. And then here it says user information, user ID or principal name. Now that information will come from where? So here you will delete it and then you will type account name. So the information will come from account name. And here you will need to do the connection basically with the ID that has the permission to disable the user. So I'll click on change connection and here I will add the connection, which is my Defender XDR user that has the permission to disable the ID. The browser is blocking the pop-up window, so I will allow sign in. So you just need to make the connection here and then you will save the runbook. Let me click on that once again. Signing in. It needs to pick up the, it needs to bring the pop-up. Okay, while it is doing it, let's see the other part, which is if user has manager. Let's say if the condition is true, if the user is got disabled, then the next is if user has manager, then what will happen here? If user has manager, then the user details will be taken and manager will, an email will be configured to the manager with these fields. You can see here, it says your direct report, the account's name. This is the field that will come, account's name has been disabled in Azure AD due to security incident. Can you please notify the user and work with him to reach the support? So you will see all the information here. Now you see the different significance that why we need to provide all of this information when we create the user account in AD, so that when we have Sentinel service enabled, all the fields will reach. If these fields are blank, let's say you created the user, but you never added the manager information, then this workflow will not trigger. So that is why this is very important to understand all of this part. That all of this part is very important to understand that you need to do. So I will just show you once again. I'm saying I'll just configure it once again because in Logic App, if you select, if you click on a workflow, you need to configure it. So I'll go to entities, which is already connected. I'll go to update user. Here I just need to provide the information for each accounts. And here I just need to remove this and provide accounts name. That's it. And change the connection here. These are all connections that went unsuccessful. It is not bringing the pop-up. It says sign in, but it typically brings up the pop-up. Okay, now it is bringing. So probably there are some issues with the Logic App. It is working a bit slow. This is the only step that you need to do here, wherein you need to provide an account that has the permission to do this activity. So I know in Entra ID, I have this account, which is Defender XDR, which has the permission. So I'll provide Defender XDR account information. All right, the connection got successful. It says, you can see here, change connection, it is connected. That's it. After this, all you need to do is save this logic app. It is saved. That's it. So this part is done. You have saved the logic app. Now we'll close it. We'll go to the Sentinel and we'll configure it there. So we'll go to the workspace. We'll go to the analytics rule. We'll select the specific analytics rule, which is here, brute force attack. We'll click on edit. And here we will configure all the settings. So we'll configure all the settings here. Rule logic. We don't need to do any changes here. We just need to check whether this rule is generating any data. So first my rule is configured for last 2 hours and to get data for last 2 days only. Last 2 hours only. Okay. And then I'm just fixing it so that it can generate the data. And I'll quickly check whether this query will provide some results. Because this is very important. If the query doesn't return any result, then logic app will not work. So results are coming. You can see we simulated brute force attack from both the users, level 1 and level 2, and the locations are coming US and India. So my query is generating alert, which is good. Now I'll go to the next part, which is incident settings and automated response. This is where I need to put my workbook. The logic app that I created, I need to put it here. So I will click on add new. So this is the previous one that I used for testing. Then put the automation rule, which is disable Entra ID user, and I'll put my name for the record, Raghuveer. Now when this automation will happen when the incident is triggered. It says the trigger of this automation is whenever the incident is created, it will trigger. Then what action it will take? Then you need to provide the action. So the action is whenever the incident triggered, go ahead and run the playbook. Which playbook you need to run? You will select the playbook now also. So here you will see your playbook, which is here, Entra ID user incident. So I select the playbook that I need to run. Then additional action. Additional action is after the playbook run, please change the status of the incidents from new to active. Another action I can put is please assign some owner. So I'll select an owner also. And from my owner, I'll select, let's say, my PIM admin. Or I'll say cloud operations team should be the owner. So one of the cloud operations team member will be picking up this incident. Then I'll click on action, which is additional action that I can run. I can add task, I can add tags, I can assign owner, change severity. So I want to change the severity of this to low, medium, let's say. The current severity is high, but now that the user is disabled, now that the incident has been picked up by another user, another owner, then I'm changing the severity. So this is how I can put the action. Then the rule expiration. When this rule will expire? Never. The order of this rule is 1 because I have another. That's it. So I'll put this here, which is the first order it will get. And I'll try and click on review plus create and save it. It's validating. The validation passed. I will save this analytics rule. So I've got the runbook in the analytics rule, which has the capability to disable the user, change the owner, assign the owner, change the status of the incident, and also change the status, assign owner, and assign an assigner, and disable the user. Right. So that's what I've done. Now you already know when you modify an analytics rule, it runs first, it runs once, and then basis on the schedule, it runs in future. So my rule will run, and as soon my rule will run, I will probably get incidents which involves my both users. So let's see. So as soon as the rule will run, I'll get the incident, and I've got the incident here, which is 535. No, not right now. It is also what it is doing. It is also not creating separate incidents. It is, so here I can see the incident here, which is 535, not right now. No, I need to refresh it. Okay, the best way to do this is, let's select all the incidents. Incidents. So automation sometimes becomes, no. Okay. Let me do that once again, because it has not generated the incident yet. It's 548. It has not generated the incident. And sometimes let me refresh the portal. Okay, let's do it once again. Sometimes it happens because of synchronization. I'll run the analytics tool once again so that a new incident is generated. Azure portal brute force attack. Edit. Why? Rule logic is okay. 2 hours, 2 hours is okay. Incident settings. Create incidents alerts triggered in this role. Automated response is okay. Okay. So I'll remove this one, edit. I'll run the analytics tool once again, because unless the incident come, I cannot see the automation part. So analytics tool saved. Okay, the incident is generated. You can see here the incident is generated. All of you, can you see this? The incident got generated at 5:50, which is a minute ago. Is everyone with me on this?
Yes, Raghuveer.
Guys, are you there?
Yes, Raghuveer. You are able to see.
Okay. So this incident got generated. You can see here. And as part of this incident, okay, I have an analytics rule actually, not an incidents here. No worries, it is not generating the incident. Probably it is taking time, but that's okay. I will click on one of the incident, action, run playbook, because you just need to understand the playbook part. So I will run this playbook, run. Not sure why this is not working, but this is how it works all the time. And I've done this a number of times in the past. So sometimes it happens because of synchronization also. Yeah, this way. See, it ran now. So the playbook was triggered successfully on this incident. Now, based on now, whichever user was involved in this incident, incident number 41, you will see the change. So incident number 41 is there, and incident number 41, level 1 user was involved. You all can see here. So if I just click here and refresh the portal, you will see that whatever was contained in the playbook, that action is taken now. So if I select this incident, 41 here, give me a moment, will not take more than 5 minutes, otherwise we'll leave it. Okay, so here it says it failed. Let me see why it failed. Portal is working a bit slow. Succeeded here. 553 it succeeded, which is okay. Run. Run history. 553. It succeeded. So guys, playbook is running perfectly fine. You can see it is running perfectly fine. All these steps you can see they all are checked, all are going green. So playbook is running fine. It is just the synchronization issue. Probably if I go back to the user, you will see the user is also disabled. So level 1 user, and there was another user which was involved in that. See, this playbook is running fine, perfectly fine here. If I go to the run details, entities get account succeeded. All right, guys. So this is actually running, but I'm just not able to show you the results because probably there is some synchronization which is not happening as we speak. Otherwise, your playbook is perfectly running fine. Because if there was any issue here, I'm saying I can run this playbook once again. Action, run playbook. I can select the playbook, run playbook, run it. It's triggering the playbook. It says playbook was successfully triggered. So playbook is running fine. It's just that it is failing. Okay, it is failing here. It says an action failed, no dependent action succeeded. Checking. Wait a minute. All right, leave that, guys. So I already have this covered in my other video. You can watch that video on Sentinel. I'll show you where it is in detail covered and it's perfectly working fine. In fact, what I'll do, I'll fix it and I'll record it and send it to you step-by-step instruction because this will take time. I need to actually troubleshoot this thing that why this playbook is not. I'm saying why if the playbook is working fine, why these users uh, I'm saying why incident is not coming. That's the first thing. Incident is actually not coming. Probably there is some issue with the service. That's the reason the playbook is failing. You can see playbook ran successfully here. It succeeded, then it failed. Now, playbook typically fails because this happens in the production also. When the user account is already disabled, then the playbook will not be able to disable a disabled user and it fails here. And that's exactly what I'm finding here because it says, if you look carefully, it says update user, disable user, not found. It is not able to find the user. So what we can do, one last thing that I can try here is Logic App Designer. Just give me 1 minute here. Okay, great. Let's go back to the incident once again. Just 2 more minutes, guys. So I'm running the analytics tool one last time. So I run the analytics tool. I'll first check the query result, whether it is returning any results. So the results are coming for both the users, user 1 and user 2. Entity mapping is okay, which is absolutely fine. 2 hours automatically greater than 1, trigger an alert for each event. Stop running alert is generated. Automated response, which is enabled, and validation. Save it. So if the alerts get generated as part of this query, it has to run. If the alert is generated, you will see the user involved in the alert getting disabled for sure. The question is the alert is not generating. And if the alert doesn't come, I don't find a reason because my query is perfectly working fine. You can see that in the analytics rule itself, in the edit, when I run the query, it is generating the result. But when the query is complete, it is not generating the alert. The last. Please go on mute. Okay, so it is not generating the new alert. That's the challenge. And because it is not generating the new alert, give me a moment here. So it is not actually generating the new alert, but that's okay. Let me show you another thing which it should work. See, when the new alert is not coming, there is absolutely nothing that I can do here because the query is perfectly working fine. But what I'll show you here is, let's say I select this alert. I've said this incident. And on this incident, there is an action. I'll run the playbook. And I'll select the playbook that I want to run for this incident. So I'll select the playbook and run for this incident. Now, whichever user is this incident is involved should get disabled. That's what playbook is all about. So the playbook was triggered successfully. Now let's see which user is involved in this incident. The user involved in this incident is level 1 user. So as per the playbook, the level 1 user should be disabled. So I'll open Entra portal. And see the status for level 1 user. I'll go to Logic app and see if it ran this time successfully. Something is broken. I'm saying as per the configuration, everything is correct because I've done this configuration a number of times. So let me just check. So I'll go to Logic App Designer once again and see the status of it, of the last run that I did. So run history, it says failed, and it failed because it failed here. It says action failed, no dependent action succeeded. UPN suffix Devra Sharma level 1 is enabled, is deleted through management approval, manage username. All right, leave that, guys. Let's not waste time. I'll fix it and I'll probably share the result, why it was failing, because ideally it should not fail. It is only failing because the new incidents are not getting generated, and this should only come from the new incident. The query will not run on the previous incidents because you can see it succeeds and then it fails. Here it succeeded perfectly fine. No error was there. So it is not getting the user information. Here it succeeded. So this is a bit strange that it is succeeding and then it is failing. Here it succeeded perfectly. All right, leave that part. I'll probably fix it and then I'll create a separate video, end-to-end video, and upload it into the SharePoint where you can, and I'll drop you an email with when the video is ready so that you can understand the process. But in the interest of time, let's not continue with this. Let's move on. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah. Yes, Raghuveer.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is technology. Sometimes you do everything right, and even though things doesn't work, this is how it is. And next moment, it starts working. So let's leave this part. The next part is that I wanted to discuss was the certification part because you are interested in the certification also. So when it comes to the certification, and when it comes to the security related certification, Microsoft has multiple certifications. So Microsoft Security Certification. Now, it basically starts with Microsoft Security. Microsoft has multiple certifications basically, and Microsoft has study guides available for those certifications. AWS and GCP, they have 11, 12 certifications, not more than that. But Microsoft has around 50 plus certifications because Microsoft has multiple technologies. But when it comes to security specific certifications, if you want to see, then we have certification like AZ500, which is known as Azure Security Engineer. Then we have certification which is SC100, SC200, SC300, SC400. These are the certifications that we have. AZ500, SC100, SC200, SC300, SC400, and there is one which is SC900. Any certification that has 900 code would always mean fundamental certifications. Always remember, any certification with this code 900 is fundamental. For example, AZ900, Azure Fundamentals, AI 900, Artificial Intelligence Fundamentals, Azure AI Fundamentals, basically. DP 900, it's a data fundamental. So wherever it says 900, it's fundamentals. So these are my security related certifications in Microsoft World. Now, if you want to see what these certifications are, what are the typical questions that comes into the exam, or what domains or services are covered, you need to look for study guides. So study guide from Microsoft portal for each certification. So Microsoft has consolidated the study guide for each certification, which is available here. You just need to type here study guide for Azure. So here you can see study guides. To your left, you see study guides. I'll show you, I'll put the study guide for AZ500 link, and then you can browse all of them from here. For example, this is the study guide for AZ500. I'll put that into the chat window. Now let's understand the study guide. So this is Microsoft Azure Security Technologies. Now over here, if you see, first of all, Microsoft twice a year, or sometimes thrice a year, Microsoft updates the certification schedule, certification exam, which basically means they either add new services, new domain, and they deprecate the old services or outdated services. So you can see they have updated it on April 30th this year itself. Now in this exam, they are primarily focusing on identity and access management. The 25% focus of the exam, 25 to 30% questions, or this is how the bifurcation is. So managing identity and access, which is Microsoft Entra ID, the entire Microsoft Entra ID part. Then secure networking related to securing the network security group, VPN, firewall, application gateway, web application firewall, all that. Then secure compute storage and database are another topic wherein you understand how do we secure virtual machines, storage accounts, databases. And then in the end, the fourth is manage security operations, which includes Azure policy, Defender for cloud, Defender for different products for Defender, which is Defender for SQL Server, Defender for storage and all that. And then some portion of Microsoft Sentinel also, which is Microsoft Sentinel, configure data connectors, create and customize analytics rule, evaluate alerts and incidents, and configure automation in Sentinel. This is AZ500. This basically teaches you multiple domains. However, if you specifically want to learn a specific product, then you have certifications here at the bottom, which is SC100. SC100 is Microsoft Cybersecurity Architect. Now, don't go by the word architect. This is not an architect level certification. They just keep the name like that. In this certification, it basically talks about this domain. I'm saying, first of all, this was also updated in April. And here it talks about these things, which is if you, designing solutions that align with security best practices, compliance, infrastructure, and applications. So this is more of a design concept certification, which primarily follows Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmarks, Microsoft Cloud Reference, Cybersecurity Reference Architecture, well-architected framework. So that's your certification. Then comes SC200, which is primarily for you guys, because this certification contains Security Operations Analyst role, which most of you are into. And in this certification, we primarily have these domains, which is managing the security operations, which includes Microsoft Defender XDR. And with Microsoft Defender XDR, it includes Microsoft Defender products, which is Microsoft Defender Endpoint, Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management. It includes Sentinel part. It includes Microsoft Defender for cloud apps, Microsoft Defender for Office, Microsoft Defender for attack surface reduction. It includes Microsoft, it's all Microsoft Defender. It's entire Microsoft Defender certification that you do. And it also includes the operational aspects, which is hunting for threats using KQL, in Sentinel, using Sentinel workbooks. So SC200 is what you can target, which is most appropriate for you. Then we have SC300 also, which is more on identity and access. This certification is primarily dedicated for Microsoft Entra ID or ADFS, on-premises directory, synchronization, all that. So this is the certification, which is managed user identities, authentication and access control, workload identities, implement identity governance. It's pure play Microsoft Entra ID certification, which is SC300. Then we have SC400, which is pure play Microsoft 365 security certification. Here it only talks about how do you secure secure your office mailboxes, your user identities and mailbox, and how do you apply DLP policies. All that comes here in information protection compliance in M365. So it's a pure play M365 certification, which includes these domains, which is data leak prevention, information protection, and the governance part also using Microsoft Purview. So this is SC 400. So SC 300 is identity, identity inclined. SC 400 is Microsoft 365. SC 200 includes all of this. SC 100 is more of design concepts, and AZ 500 is a combination. This starting from SC 100 till SC 900, they were only launched in the last 1 or 2 years. Earlier, you only had one, which is AZ 500, that most of the people would go for. Then you have SC 900, which is nothing but fundamentals. Microsoft Security Compliance and Identity Fundamental. It's a pure play theoretical certification. No practical question or scenario-based question comes here. It only validates your theoretical knowledge around compliance, which once again focuses on Microsoft Entra ID, and it focuses on Azure solutions like WAF, Virtual Network, NSG, Key Vault, Bastion Host, DDoS. It's a pure play theoretical certification. So these are your certifications in Azure that you have. Now, the question is, how do you prepare for these certifications? Very easy. For each certification, whichever you pick and choose, Microsoft gives you a lot of documentation to prepare for the certification. You have a learning path. For example, for SC200, you have a learning path wherein you have Microsoft documentation, some videos, white papers, and you can follow this learning path and you can learn about this certification. The second option that you get is practice test also. Once you are done, once you feel that you have come to a point wherein you want to sit for the certification, you can also come to this website and you can do a practice test for a certification, any certification that you want to apply. And then how do you get the certification? What is the typical cost of a certification? See, cost of the certification is most of the time between $100 to $200. Most of the Microsoft certification comes at this cost. So if I show you the cost of this certification, for example, SC200, it is in India, 4,800 rupees. That's the typical cost of most of the Microsoft certifications, 4,800 plus GST, which will come around 5,400 rupees when you actually pay to Microsoft. But I'll tell you a way to get free certifications. So how to get free certification voucher from Microsoft. If TCS reimburses it, well and good. But if you feel that your employer will not reimburse for more than one certification in a year as per certification policy, there is a way to get free certification voucher from Microsoft. And that is attend Microsoft security events. Attend Microsoft security events. So what happens? Microsoft schedules a lot of events, and for that you will see the information here, which is you can type Microsoft security events. This is the website for it. I'll put that into the chat window. So you need to attend these security events, because what Microsoft does, when you attend the security events, Microsoft basically provides, so these are the security events. I'm saying there is a lot of, you can go to the catalog and you can pick and choose the technology of your interest, and then you can see whether events are available on that technology. So here you see the catalog. So you attend these events, and as part of a token of appreciation or token of your attendance, what Microsoft does, Microsoft gives you either discounted voucher related to the certification that the event relates to, or free voucher as part of a token of appreciation. And this happens 90% of the time. Microsoft does that when you attend for the event. While you register for the event, make sure that you provide your official ID, because event has limited seats available, and Microsoft will always prefer a corporate email address over personal email address. So use your corporate email ID for registration, and your employer would not mind doing it because you're doing a legitimate act, and this will help you enhance your learning, and that will eventually help your employer in the long run. So register for these events. That's the one thing that you need to do. And the second thing that you can do to get a free certification voucher, Microsoft has challenge labs. So attend these challenge labs and events from Microsoft. Microsoft conducts this on regular basis. If you can attend these events, and so if I say all events, here you just need to find the keyword, which is say Defender, hit enter. And here you see the Defender. So you can see there is an event which is happening on 18th, which is tomorrow, for 4 hours, right? And this is a digital event, an online event, which is on AI security use cases with Microsoft Security Copilot. There is another which is happening this month on 26th, which is more about Microsoft Defender CSPM. There is one which is happening in July, which is once again on Copilot. So they're focusing a lot on Copilot. So they're conducting recurring events on Copilot. You can see. So similarly, you will see a couple of events here. Just attend these events. This will really help you. And please make sure, now it is not that you will just log into the event and then move away. No, you have to remain active, because they have a solution, analytics solution in the backend, which will check that how many users attended the event and how many of them remain active throughout the event, which means you joined the event at the beginning and you left the event in the end, and you remained attentive throughout the time. So that's the analytics solution that they use. And when you get 90%, 90 plus 90% plus marks for it, I'm saying when your attendance is 90% plus, then you will get a certification voucher. And I'm telling you from experience, because I'm part of those events. I help them conduct the events. I also speak at events, and I also build templates and support Microsoft for a lot of events as part of my engagement with Microsoft. So if your attendance is more than 90%, which means if there is a 4-hour event, and if you were attending it for more than 3.8 hours, take my words, you will get an email from Microsoft on your registered email address, appreciating you for that attendance, inquiring if you have any additional questions, and as a token of appreciation, a certification voucher. Make sense?
Yes.
Are you with me, guys,
Yes,
on
Raghuveer.
this?
Yeah.
Great.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is how you get a certification voucher. Now, whenever you schedule an exam of Microsoft Technologies, feel free to connect with me. Get in touch with me for latest dumps. And you already know what dumps are. Since I have access to Microsoft portal, Microsoft MCT portal. Microsoft updates dumps on periodic basis. Whichever exam you're attempting, just drop me a note 15 days or 3 weeks before the exam. I will see if there are latest dumps available. I'll share the dumps with you for that exam. 70 to 80% of the questions will come from the dumps, which I can guarantee that you will be able to clear the certification just by reading the dumps. However, that will not guarantee practical knowledge that you need to procure or that you need to gain yourself. So if it is about clearing a certification, you only want to clear the certification, you don't want to waste your 4,800 rupees, or you don't want to take a chance, just get the dumps. I'll share the latest dumps plus any study material that I have for that certification, and also some third-party references wherein you can get more questions, more MCQ based questions related to that exam. So get in touch with me for that. Just drop me a note. I'll share the dumps with you. And in the end, best of luck in your learning journey.